This is Valley News Live at 5.
Hey, good evening, everyone. The fog in the area is sticking around and it's making for some tricky driving conditions. Here's a live look at 45th and 32nd Avenue South in Fargo. While it may not look too bad outside, the roads have some sneaky slick spots and the fog is making travel especially difficult as the sun sets. We head straight to Chief Meteorologist Hutch Johnson tonight with the latest. Hutch?
Thank you, Stacy. Happy Friday, everyone. A foggy Friday at that. As we take a look, we still have some areas under a dense fog advisory. It does look like northwest portions of Minnesota, the Devil's Lake Basin, including Langdon, and the Southern Valley are the most problematic areas at this time. A look at visibilities from the region showing that a few spots are well under a half of a mile visibility, including Thief River Falls, Langdon, and Oaks. Grand Forks under 1 mile. So give yourself some time to get where you're going. Look at Fergus Falls, also a third of a mile there. I do think that the aerial coverage of our fog right now will be expanding as temperatures slowly fall tonight. It does look like a light south wind with low clouds and fog in the FM area. And here, look at these temperatures. When we get fog rolling in and developing and temperatures are below freezing, some of those water droplets can freeze on trees, but also sidewalks, roads, and particularly overpasses and bridges. So give yourself some extra time. Watch for slippery spots, and I'll have details on whether or not we'll have a chance at seeing a golden disc in the sky this weekend. It's been a while. I'll have your forecast details in a few moments.
Yeah, we haven't seen it for a few days. Thanks, Hutch.
It's been a while.
A foster mom accused of killing her toddler son is now going to trial. 35-year-old Kelly Jo Anderson is charged with second-degree murder in the death of 18-month-old Henry, who had been in her care since April 2019. Anderson's trial is set for May 11th. Court documents say Henry was brought to the Sanford emergency room with bruising to the head and face. A preliminary autopsy stated the child likely died from asphyxia associated with blunt force trauma. The manner of death is listed as homicide. If convicted, Anderson could spend up to 40 years in prison. A man accused of murdering and dismembering a 19-year-old girl in Moorhead has now pled guilty. 27-year-old Ethan Broad pled guilty to second-degree intentional murder for the killing of Destiny Avery back in April. Sentencing has been set for February 18th. Broad's plea agreement states that he will serve around 30 years in prison and must serve 2/3 of that sentence before he's eligible for parole. The other 3 people police say were involved in Avery's murder and cover-up remain behind bars while they await their upcoming court dates. Police are investigating after a body is found at a motel in Jamestown. Officers were dispatched around 11:15 this morning to the Two Rivers Inn East in Jamestown for the report of a dead body. They discovered a deceased female in the parking lot. The woman is believed to be in her late 40s, about 5'5", 150 pounds with reddish blonde hair. Police say there is no threat to the public. They're asking anyone with information about this incident to call the number on your screen there. A Brainerd woman is dead after being hit by a pickup in a convenience store parking lot. The Minnesota State Patrol says 72-year-old Gloria Rosencrans was killed last night near Mille Lacs Lake. Troopers say a 69-year-old woman driving a pickup was speeding through a super stop parking lot and hit the victim. There's no word yet if the driver will face criminal charges. Federal and local authorities are working to identify the rioters who stormed the Capitol. So far, at least 82 people have been arrested. Skylar Henry has the latest tonight from Washington, D.C.
The search for rioters who assaulted the Capitol is in full swing. The FBI released a wanted poster Friday morning asking for the public's help in finding dozens of people seen in photographs and video. Authorities are also looking for this suspect, who may be responsible for the pipe bombs planted outside the RNC and DNC sites in Washington.
We are fully, across the administration, pursuing every avenue of justice available.
The Department of Justice announced Friday Richard Barnett of Arkansas, seen posing behind Speaker Nancy Pelosi's desk, has been arrested and charged with theft and violent entry. Also charged, newly installed West Virginia state legislator Derek Evans, who live-streamed on Facebook video of him storming the building. Evans released a statement saying he was there as an independent member of the media to film history.
Yeah, it turned into chaos.
This Chicago resident was arrested at the Capitol. He admits entering the building and is now showing remorse.
It had nothing to do with charging anybody or anything or any of that. I was in the wrong place at the wrong time, and I regret my part in that.
Numerous other trespassers have also been identified, including conspiracy spreader Jake Angeli from Arizona, known as the QAnon Shaman.
I was on the front line.
Boyd Camper came from Montana.
If you haven't heard, it's called the Insurrection Act.
More arrests are expected in the coming days, with suspects facing various charges including unlawful entry and possibly homicide, following word that a Capitol police officer has died from his injuries. Skylar Henry, CBS News, Washington.
The FBI is offering a $50,000 reward for information on that pipe bomb suspect. Dozens of people have been arrested and charged for their roles in the riot, and companies are taking action as well, firing employees identified in pictures and videos surfacing, including one Maryland man who wore his work badge during the riots. The United Nations Rights Office says President Trump should disavow the very dangerous language he and other political leaders are using regarding the outcome of the presidential election and in describing what happened at the Capitol.
We are deeply troubled by the incitement to violence and hatred by political leaders, and we are calling on the President of the United States and other political leaders to stop, to openly disavow the false and the dangerous narratives that are being spread.
The UN Human Rights Chief is calling for a thorough investigation into the events in Washington, which left 5 people dead, along with expressing concerns about the symbols of white supremacy outside the Capitol, such as the Confederate flag and a noose. Flags at the U.S. Capitol building are flying at half-staff in honor of a fallen Capitol police officer. House Speaker Nancy Pelosi ordered the lowering of the flags today following the death of Officer Brian Sicknick. Capitol Police say he was injured while engaging with rioters. He collapsed at his division office and was taken to a nearby hospital. He died from his injuries last night. He joined the Capitol Police in July of 2008. Authorities say there will be an investigation into his death. Public schools in both Fargo and West Fargo are providing opportunities for their students to discuss the events that occurred in Washington, D.C. Both school districts tell us they have not physically sent out any resources to families from the district level, but these are available if needed. Staff members say they're helping by providing constructive conversations with students. We also reached out to Moorhead Public Schools for comment. They have yet to respond. Britain will soon require all international travelers to test negative for COVID-19 before they arrive in the UK. CBS's Tina Kraus reports from London.
Starting as soon as next week, people traveling to Britain by plane, train or boat need to get tested for COVID-19 before they take off.
As long as it's negative, then they can fly, but they can't board the plane, for example, without having that negative test.
Some countries have already introduced pre-departure testing, but varying rules have confused passengers.
We've had a lot of disappointed travellers who thought they'd done the right thing and were then turned away when they tried to board their plane.
Heathrow CEO John Holland Kay is pushing for a global testing standard that keeps everyone safe.
And then they can travel to their destination with confidence, knowing that nobody on the plane has COVID.
The mandatory testing comes as the UK tries to ramp up protection from new and more infectious strains of COVID-19 from other countries.
And this is the South African variant, where the scientists are very concerned about the ability of the vaccine to tackle the South African variant.
But some airlines are concerned if a passenger tests positive, it destroys their business.
Leave the airlines then with the risk that, well, they'll all cancel 4 days or within a day or 2 days of departure. We then have to run flights that will have, I don't know, maybe 5 or 10% of the seats sold. We lose so much money.
The British government was previously against travel testing, saying quarantining was more effective. But new strains of the virus are forcing a new plan of attack. Tina Kraus, CBS News, London.
Canada and Australia are also requiring negative COVID tests before travelers enter the country. It's a big day for North Dakota bars and restaurants after having to operate at half capacity during the latest COVID closure. At 8 this morning, Governor Doug Burgum's new guidelines went into effect. Restaurants have been operating at up to 50% of their licensed seating capacity, not to exceed 150 customers, since November 16th. Tonight, those businesses can operate at 65% capacity or 200 people. Seating arrangements and tables must still be 6 feet apart. Dance floors must remain closed. Tonight on Valley News Live at 9 and 10, we'll tell you what this change will actually mean to area bars and restaurants, and if it's too little, too late. Fargo and West Fargo public schools are now updating spectator limitations for sporting events following Governor Doug Burgum's announcement to lower the state risk level from high to moderate. Each participant on home teams will receive 4 vouchers to purchase a ticket per event. Each participant on visiting teams will receive 2. A voucher must be presented to purchase an event ticket. Job creation came to a stop in December as increasing COVID numbers caused restrictions that hurt businesses like bars and restaurants. The Labor Department reports that non-farm payrolls dropped about 140,000. The unemployment rate holds steady at 6.7%. Analysts surveyed by Dow Jones expected there to be job growth in December. However, rising coronavirus numbers forced many local municipalities to add restrictions to limit the spread of the virus. That hammered the hospitality business, with the industry seeing a plunge of 498,000 jobs. Still to come on Valley News Live at 5, it's not junk mail, why your stimulus payment might look different than you imagine.
Another soupy day here in the valley with our time lapse showing that low cloud deck and the fog, creating a white canopy on our trees across the valley. More fog in your forecast for this Friday night. Details on when we may see sunshine this weekend coming up right after this.